Hey, it is Kenny from Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my channel. Please like and subscribe. As always, I really appreciate it. In this video, I'm going to give you just a brief opinion of the Analogue Productions release of the Steely Dan Asia album. This is a transcendent and famous Steely Dan album. Matter of fact, this is my favorite Steely Dan album. This came out, I think, 77, I believe. I think I was, in my 11th grade year of grade school. A great year and a great album release. When I think of that year, this definitely goes through my mind. Steely Dan Asia. You know, they say a lot of these albums are the soundtracks of our lives, and this is part of the soundtrack of my life. Steely Dan Asia. But I'm going to get into this release in this video. Like I said, it's going to be a very, very brief opinion. And also I'm going to give what I think are probably two obvious negatives about this release. First of all, I want to give you, for those of you who do not know, and this is very important that I do this during these videos, these comparison videos, is quickly give you a breakdown of the equipment I'm using, just to give you some type of, point of which I'm working from. I'm using a Riga P8 turntable with a Feta 3 stereo cartridge, a Wes 0.20 phono stage. Also using a Balance Audio Technology VK60 tube amplifier. My preamplifier is a Pass Labs X2 preamplifier. And my speakers are Kindle speakers. That's Kindel PLS-A speakers. They're really tall speakers. They stand approximately 67 inches tall. And those speakers give me a point of view or a sound stage that I didn't previously hear in some of the other speakers in my life because of the height of the speakers and the amount of drivers that are inside the cabinets. It gives me this outstanding presence and sound stage, which I love so much. But I did a previous video comparing my older Asia album. Please forgive the reflection in the picture. My older Asia album, and this one is what's in the dead wax is AA with a B cross out, 1006 in parentheses RE3. That's AA with the B cross out, 1006 parentheses RE3 close parentheses. Now, a lot of you out there are saying that the AB variant of the original version is the best one, and also the Cisco version is actually an excellent one too. And I don't have either of those to compare this UHQR with, so please keep that in mind. What I did have to compare it with is a 2023 release. This was released recently. This is a 33 RPM version of Asia, and I did a video between the recent 33 1/3 RPM version of Asia and my older version, close to original version of Asia, and I found that the 2023 version had more depth, detail, and soundstage, whereas I thought my older version was a little thin. It lacked detail. It lacked definition. It was a little thin in comparison to the 2023 release on 33 1/3, because the 33 1/3 2023 release was more fuller, had more depth, and more presence. It was a better listening experience, to me anyway. Now, again, I did not compare that to the Cisco version and the AB version, which a lot of you out there claim is spectacular. But like I said, I received my version of Asia as a posting of this video a couple of days ago, and I listened to it several times, and I'll show you the number stamped on the back of mine. Hope it comes out on the video. If not, I apologize. Sorry for the reflection in the picture. But upon listening to this version of Asia, I was struck by initially the high-end detail. It had more high-end detail than what was previously my best copy, which was this 2023 release of Asia. It had more higher-end detail to me across the spectrum, across practically all instruments and vocals, Fagen's vocals and background vocals had more high-end detail. And I noticed that especially on the drums, when the drum is hitting the cymbal, I noticed that pop and that detail more so in UHQR than my second best version, the 2023 33 and a third. But I have some notes here. I'm going to refer to these notes just slightly, just a lot of notes, but like on Peg, for example, the background singers in Peg was a more detail and a more of a enjoyable, fuller experience. The whole listening experience on the UHQR, it was full. It had more definition, sound shape. It seemed more fuller to me, and had more detail. It was just overall full of more detail than the 33 and a third. For example, the guitar solo, I think it was John Graydon on Peg, had more detail and realism on the UHQR. And the drums, like I said, the upper frequency on the drums when the drummer's hitting the cymbal, it felt like more of a cymbal hit, like the cymbal hit was in the room. It was more dimensional, more depth to it, more detail. And the electric piano and the clavinet was more, it just had more presence, it had more shine to it. It was more crisp on Peg, on the UHQR. And overall, it was just more, the dimensionality, the depth and the detail was just more present on Peg, on the UHQR versus my 33 and a third. It was just a more pleasurable listening experience. There's another one on Asia. Wayne Shorter's saxophone solo was more in the room, and the drummer, when he was playing during the saxophone solo, that was more in the room too. It just felt like a real drum kit when Wayne Shorter was performing his solo. That spectacular sax solo along with the drumming accompaniment during that solo was just simply spectacular. It was like an in-the-room performance. It was just an easier and more realistic listen on the UHQR. And I think I might have a little bit on Black Cow, the keyboard solo, the high-end detail of the keyboard solo and the drums was great to listen to. The lead vocals, Fagen, throughout had more presence to it, more of a slightly more in the room experience. And even Tom Scott's sax playing on Black Cow had more presence. Overall, this was a more grander and more fuller and more detailed listening experience than the 33 and a third that I purchased this year in 2023. It was just simply, for me personally, it was worth the money for me on the system I'm listening to. Now I have to say this, and I'll get to two negatives in a second. These UHQRs, I don't think are meant to be saviors or problem solvers for entry-level equipment. I don't mean that to sound disrespectful. I think people have higher end systems. I'm not insinuating that I do. They can hear and discern more detail and definition and three-dimensionality better than entry-level systems. So I think the purchaser of this system, of this record or this UHQR, should keep in mind that what we hear when we're listening to these records are system dependent. That is extremely important. You know, I have a Feta 3 cartridge on my turntable, and I think it's spectacular. A Feta 3 cartridge. And I think it's simply spectacular for the price point. I think it's, a $2,200 cartridge. But if I had like a $300 cartridge or a $200 cartridge, I don't think I'm going to get the same depth dimension that I'm getting out of this fabulous Riga cartridge. So these, same with the speakers, the type of speakers you're using. This all goes into play, what you're hearing, and it all goes into play in terms of the way we come to these assessments and opinions. It's highly system dependent. And like I said, these UHQRs, I don't think are meant to be saviors for entry-level systems. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way of any shape or form. But I think you can hear more on a higher-end system. You can discern more on a higher-end system. I think you come to a better conclusion on a higher-end system. Just my opinion. And I had entry-level systems during my life, so I have a little bit of experience with that. On the negatives, the 33 1/3 is more of a continuous listening experience. You're flipping the sides once on the 33 1/3, where this one, you have 4 sides. And some people out there, some music lovers, some audiophiles, may not like getting up and flipping a record, 3 or 4 times. And that could kind of put a damper on the enjoyability and the pleasure of the listening experience, getting up to change your record 3 or 4 times. And so that's one negative. It's not a negative for me because I don't mind. I simply don't mind doing that. Another one is the obvious one, is the cost, especially for my brothers and sisters overseas. They got to pay like a premium and shipping alone. So those two are the two negatives, obviously, and I guess that applies to all UHQR. Is the price, and the fact is a 45 RPM record. You're going to be getting up multiple times to change your record, and some of you out there I know can see that is a deal breaker in getting these 45 RPM records. But for me, now previous to this video, I said that my John Coltrane I Love Supreme was the best UHQR I've ever heard. It really is. But I think this Steely Dan Asia, to me, it takes its place. I'm going to give the Asia the best UHQR record set I've heard by a slight margin over the Coltrane I Love Supreme album. But please leave your comments in the comment section below what you think of this UHQR, if you have it, or do you plan to get it all? Please leave those comments in the comment section below. But if you have experience with this UHQR and you've compared it to the AB version or the Cisco version, please leave your comments in the comment section below, because I do not have the AB version or the Cisco version, so it'll be interesting to hear those comments. But as of now, and what I have to work with, the UHQR is the best version of Asia I've ever heard. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Thank you very much for viewing this video. God bless, strong love, and keep the peace worldwide.